Hi, Biggie. It's been a minute since we got the chance to talk. We're back in Marina Del Rey.
Yep.
Did you get any good questions recently?
Yeah, I've had some good questions I've been saving to answer on the show. First question, which I think I've spoken about before, but it's good to bring it up again, is somebody wanted to know about my opinion on using the keto diet if your goal is to build muscle mass. And as I've mentioned before, I don't think there's anything wrong with the keto diet. I think that a lot of people have had good results with it. But I think the majority of the people that have had good results with keto diets are those people who are very, very overweight and need to lose weight and body fat quickly. The keto diet is really excellent for doing that by just simply taking pretty much all carbohydrates out of the diet and forcing the body to eat just proteins and high fats. The body will be using fats and then eventually ketones to fuel itself, and this seems to have a great overall fat burning effect. So it's great for people who want to lose weight, and I also think that it's good for some people getting ready for competitions. I know there are some coaches out there that use the keto plan for getting their competitors ready for competitions, and a lot of them get into great shape. So I think it's useful that as well. But to answer the question I always ask specifically, how do I feel about it for muscle mass? I don't think that the keto diet is a great diet for muscle mass. And that's very simply because carbohydrates are important in the diet for restoring muscle glycogen. And part of having muscle glycogen stores helps to give you a fuller muscle, a more volumized muscle, because with carbohydrates stored in the muscle, glycogen comes water. Also because carbohydrates, especially used at the right times, will influence insulin. So insulin is one of the most anabolic hormones in the body. It will, when it comes to adding muscle mass, it helps to drive amino acids into the muscle. It helps drive, of course, carbohydrates into the muscle. It also even helps to drive certain supplements into the muscle, branched chain amino acids, creatine, those types of things, and even hormones and everything that needs to get driven inside of a muscle cell. Insulin helps in this regard. So I think that if you're trying to add muscle mass, and I think a lot of the coaches who actually are keto coaches may even also have their athletes in the off season or in the progress season use more carbohydrates than before a show. So I don't think you should go completely keto when you're trying to add muscle mass. I think that you're going to be working against yourself. And I think that you should keep, as always, I always like to say, carbohydrates I think are best utilized at the 2 times of day when the body is most insulin sensitive, which is first thing in the morning after you've pretty much fasted 6 to 8 hours, however long you sleep at night. The body's very high in cortisol first thing in the morning, and by giving your body some carbohydrates, increasing insulin, cortisol comes down, and of course helps to give you energy for the day and for your workout later. And then also post-workout is another time that you're extremely insulin sensitive, and another time where we tend to take in fast absorbing proteins like whey protein, and also take a lot of our supplements like creatine and BCAAs and those types of things. And so that will help to drive these things into the muscle very, very quickly. After workouts will help it to recover, repair, recuperate, and also set them up for an anabolic response. So answer to your question, keto diet can be good for losing weight and for contest preparation, but not very, very good for muscle mass. So definitely keep carbohydrates in your diet when you're looking to add muscle size.
Awesome.
Okay, so another question that I got, which I thought was interesting, is about workout duration. He wanted to know, how long should workouts be when the goal is to stay lean and keep your muscle mass intact? When your nutrition and everything is on point, what do you think about the length of the workouts? And I mean, this is a tough question to answer, because a lot of factors come into play when it comes to length of workouts. Personally, in my training, which I've always found most effective, is workouts that last. Now, this is, again, training with a partner. So now if I'm training with a partner, which I usually do, workouts will take usually between 90 minutes and 2 hours long. That is from beginning to end, first warm up until the last rep is done. And if I'm training alone, probably takes a half an hour less, just because you tend to move a little bit more quickly when you're alone than when you're waiting and you're cheering on a partner and you guys are going back and forth, and maybe it's a little conversation, so obviously it takes a little bit longer. I think for most people, once you get past the 2 hour mark, either you're doing a little too much volume, or maybe you're taking too long rests in between sets, or maybe you're on your phone too much or having too much conversation. I just don't think you need to be in the gym that long. Now, let me also say that, again, because we're all very different genetically, there are people out there who can take a lot of training, a lot of sets, and more volume, and there's some people who can't take very much at all. I have always been somebody who, and I don't really look at training duration as much as I look at work sets, because maybe some leg workouts maybe take a lot longer than an arm workout. It's not like a time thing, just because it takes longer to recover between sets of leg presses and squat movement versus barbell curls and lying tricep extensions. So I've always looked at my work sets, and for most body parts, the larger body parts, work sets, and this has nothing to do with warm-ups, are somewhere around 8 to 10 sets. Seems very low for people, but I'm very into very, very high intensity. If you guys know my training, every set is very, very high intensity, very, very slow, long rep tempos. So the duration of each set is very, very long. Smaller body parts can be even less, could be 6, 7 sets. So I don't really look at my training time so much. I just am trying to give you a generalization. Now, there are some people out there who genetically, their recovery ability, they may only be able to take half that volume. There are some people out there who may be able to take twice the volume. We kind of run the gamut, because there are people out there who say, hey, I do 20 sets for arms, and they have giant arms. So I can't say to them, well, you're doing it wrong. If they've tried less sets and it doesn't work for them, then hey, and they've tried a little bit more and that works better, then I can't argue with that. Of course, we also have to talk about natural versus enhanced bodybuilders, because if you're enhanced, it's like sort of having a couple of turbochargers on your system. You're going to be able to handle more volume and repair and recover from that than somebody who is training drug-free. So that also has to be taken into consideration. So to try to give you an answer to your question and make it a little bit more simplified for you, I think that if you're training by yourself, you shouldn't be in the gym for more than 90 minutes. If you're training with a partner, 2 hours should pretty much be the cutoff. I think that if you go too much past that, your testosterone levels will start to drop, your cortisol levels will start to rise, your nervous system will be a little overtaxed, and you won't recover as well. And then I think you're going to sacrifice some muscle mass. So just keep that in mind, and I think you should be in a pretty good area for maintaining your mass and staying lean.
Awesome.
All right, so one more question I alluded to before about rep tempos, and this is a little bit more specific to that. I was asked about somebody who has been using my Power Rep Brain Shock program, which is the first protocol that I came out with back somewhere around the year 2000. It's probably my most popular and well-known protocol. He's been using it, and with that protocol comes some difference in rep speeds and rep tempos, but he wanted to know more specifically about what do I do specifically? Why do I change the rep tempos, and how do I change them? When do I decide to change them? What's the reason for changing them? So on and so forth. So basically, all of my programs, PRS, FTX2, SPEC, ESPX2, all of these programs take rep tempo into consideration. I think that the thing that is missing in most people's training programs, and I'm speaking to the people who have been training for a few years, not beginners who don't have to worry too much about rep tempo. They can worry more about strict form, keeping things under control, and be progressive with the weights. But once you've been training for a few years and the body has become more resilient, you have been doing pretty much the same type of program for a long time. One of the things that very few people look at as, they may say, here's a new machine, let me use this machine, or let me change my exercises. These are great things to do, but you could take the same movements and just change the rep tempos and make it a completely different movement. So here's a few things. First of all, across the board, almost everybody I see doesn't pay enough attention to the negative, the eccentric contraction. I think that's the most important aspect of a rep, because it has been shown that the eccentric contraction is actually the one that traumatizes the muscle the most, splits apart or tears the muscle fibers, and when muscle fibers are tears, they must repair and get bigger and stronger, which is what we're all after. So I think that most people should be thinking control negatives in about 3 seconds or so, no matter what the exercise. We'll sometimes in my training, as you've seen Dave and I and Dave Hughes and Silvio, we'll use rep tempos even longer than that. You know, negatives could be 5, 6, 7 seconds depending on what we're doing that day, but that's very, very advanced stuff. So that's the first thing. But you can also control the concentric, which is the raising phase, and make those very, very slow also, and get a completely different feeling in the muscle. Now, when you do that, what you're basically doing is giving the muscle a completely different stimulus than what it's used to. It's used to, most people probably raise or push a weight in about 1 second. But when you slow it down and you start pushing a weight, say a bench press, instead of going down and pushing up in 1 second, and you push it up over like 4 or 5 seconds, there's so much more tension on the muscle that's created. First of all, you can't use as much weight, but who cares? You want to create tension. You are decreasing the tension on your joints, so you're going to stave off injury, which can happen to any and all of us over years of training, and you'll just feel the muscle working completely different. You'll actually get in touch with the muscle because you're forced to feeling it go through its entire contraction over those many seconds, rather than just pushing it, which can involve momentum. Then of course we also have focusing on the stretch position, like the bottom of a fly, or the bottom of a stiff leg deadlift, by stretching the muscle under tension and holding that stretch under resistance. That has also been shown to be very traumatizing to muscle tissue, and that again is a different stimulus for creating muscle growth. Then also we have the peak contraction. I think a lot of people do understand the peak contraction. I think that's something people do a lot on leg extensions, cable crossovers, bicep curls with a cable. They're pretty good at squeezing, but try, instead of holding that squeeze for like 1 second, try holding it for 4 or 5 seconds and really squeezing and holding for as long as you can. Each of these things are going to have a slightly different physiological effect in the muscle. They're going to be different for the nervous system. The nervous system is dealing with something different. The way they traumatize the muscle is going to be different. And all of these different aspects of a repetition are going to just be, since a different stimulus, it's going to be something your body's not used to, and therefore it must adapt and grow. And what you want to do is you don't want to use the same thing over and over again. That's why my programs are similar but different, and then the way that I cycle the rep tempos from exercise to exercise or workout to workout. Some of them will use one exercise and use one of these rep speeds. You know, one will be the stretch, one will be the contracted, one will be the eccentric, one will be the concentric for each exercise. Sometimes we may focus entirely the whole workout on the negatives, or focus the whole workout on the concentric or whatever. Just change things, here and there. Cycle it, make it a little bit different every week, and this way you're going to make sure that you're always giving your body a novel stimulus, the muscles and nervous system. And I think this is the best way to continually grow and to allow yourself to not use such heavy weights all the time that you could be damaging the joints and then causing your career in the gym or a competitor to fall short. You could stay like Dexter Jackson in the gym for many, many years and keep making progress.
Awesome. Thanks, Vicky.